Welcome to Real Data. Today I'm going to talk about inflation. Stay tuned.
Before every election, our representatives would like to make us think we're getting a tax break. And they're able to do it while at the same time actually raising our taxes because of a bit of magic they have in their kit bag. That magic is inflation. They reduce the tax rates, but the taxes we have to pay go up because we are automatically shoved into higher brackets by the effect of inflation. A neat trick. Taxation without representation. What happened to all that noise?
The more I work, it seems like the more they take off of me. I know if I work an extra day or 2 extra days, what they take in federal income tax alone is almost doubled because it apparently puts you in a higher income tax bracket and it takes more off you.
Bob Crawford lives with his wife and 3 children in a suburb of Pittsburgh. They're a fairly average American family.
Don't slam the door, Daphne.
Okay. All right.
What are you doing?
Making your favorite dish.
No.
We went to the Crawfords' home after he'd spent a couple of days working out his federal and state income taxes for the year. For our benefit, he tried to estimate all the other taxes he had paid as well. In the end, though, he didn't discover much that will surprise anybody.
Inflation is going up. Everything's getting more expensive. No matter what you do, as soon as you walk out of the house, everything's going up. Your gas bills keep going up, electric bills, your gasoline. You could name 1,000 things that are going up, but just everything's going sky high. Your food. My wife goes to the grocery store. We used to live on, say, $60 or $50 every 2 weeks just for our basic food. Now it's $80 or $90 every 2 weeks. Things are just, they're going out of sight as far as expense to live on. Like I say, it's getting tough, and it seems like every month it gets worse and worse, and I don't know where it's going to end. At the end of the day, I've spent nearly $6,000 of my earnings on taxes. That leaves me with a total of $12,000 to live on. That might seem like a lot of money, but 5, 6 years ago, I was earning $12,000.
How does taxation without representation really affect how much the Crawford family has left to spend after it's paid its income taxes? Well, in 1972, Bob Crawford earned $12,000. Some of that income was not subject to income tax. After paying income tax on the rest, he had this much left to spend. 6 years later, he was earning $18,000 a year. By 1978, the amount free from tax was larger, but he was now in a higher tax bracket, so his taxes went up by a larger percentage than his income. However, those dollars weren't worth anything like as much. Even his wages, let alone his income after taxes, hadn't kept up with inflation. His buying power was lower than before. That is taxation without representation in practice.
The government always wants to blame the corporations, the companies out there, that inflation is because of them. But at the end of the day, the hidden tax, as you heard Milton say, taxation without representation. Again, what do we think happens when purchase price in houses go up, gasoline goes up? The government ends up making more money. The problem with what we're doing is we're printing way too much money that we cannot keep up with, and inflation is rising. The video from 1979, 1980, you notice that, gentlemen, how many of you have worked a job, worked overtime, and then you notice that the check had a bigger deduction towards federal and state? And you're asking yourself, why am I going to work more if my partner in crime takes more and more money away from me? How does that make sense? instead of incentivizing someone to work more, they're actually not wanting you to work more because the more you work, the more taxes that they grab. It's very strange if you think about it from a standpoint, why would they do that if they want the society to continue to improve and for people to be more self-sustainable? But that's the key word. Self-sustainable is what the government doesn't want from us. They want to be our nanny. They want to tell us what to do. So just keep in mind, left or right, forget about that. Focus on the big picture. The war in Ukraine is a total charade. We don't have money to spend in our country. We're now, I think, across 1.5 billion, or excuse me, trillion that we sent to the war of Ukraine and Russia. So now we have US and NATO in this whole charade on top of everything else that's going on, and we're in Putin's backyard, right? So what if somebody was going through the Cuban border or the Puerto Rican border and they're setting up the Navy and Army and any missiles for that matter? How would we intercept that as Americans, for instance? It's a catch-22, so don't fall for that. And the biggest waste of money always comes during wars. You know, have we not learned anything from the Gulf? Then the Middle East wars after the Desert Storm with Schwarzkopf in the 90s. And it just on and on and on and on. I think we're in excess of 20 to 25 trillion, and then that's just money being sent overseas. Listen, at the end of the day, that taxation without representation, that's the money that they're taking from you and robbing you. But they want you to argue whether you're left or right, because at the end of the day, they're over here and you're over here arguing with amongst each other.